Manomaya Purusha. Okay. So he has dealt with Annamaya Purusha, Pranamaya Purusha, and now he is going to discuss the Manomaya Purusha. The mind, soul, and mind consciousness in man, Manomaya Purusha, can in the same direct way reflect and enter into Satchidananda by a reflection of the soul as it mirrors itself in the nature of pure universal mind, luminous, unwalled, happy, plastic, illimitable, by absorption in the vast, free, unconditioned, uncentered self within it and without it. So, very complicated sentence. So let us see what he said. So the first thing we have to realize that there is a consciousness which is absolutely independent of everybody. It is not like the scientific theory which says that only living creatures have awareness and consciousness is awareness. I keep repeating, consciousness is not awareness. It's a fundamental reality which exists even if everything else disappears. It is a chip of Satchidananda. It exists even before the manifestation of the world. So this is consciousness. And it has got a peculiar power. It can make itself infinite. It can limit itself. It can adjust itself to matter. It can adjust itself to life. It can adjust itself to mind. It can adjust to itself in the spiritual planes of consciousness. And it can even rise to the highest Satchidananda. This is consciousness, Chit. It has the power to limit itself and enter into all these different planes. And when it enters into the Annam, okay, that is the matter, it becomes Annamaya Purusha. There is a consciousness in it which is coexistent with and consistent with and proportional to the consciousness of matter. That means almost sleeping consciousness. Then when it rises a little above, it goes into the life element, which is one plane above the matter. It becomes conscious, semi-conscious, mechanical action, but semi-conscious. Now that is the Pranamaya Purusha. The Purusha is always the consciousness taking different stands. So now Srivda is discussing the Manomaya Purusha, the one that is the consciousness in the mind. And Srivda's yoga starts with consciousness in the mind. Okay. Hatha yoga starts with the body. Okay. Then the Bhakti yoga starts with the vital and the purity of the vital. And the Jnana yoga starts with the mind, the Manomaya Purusha. Srivda's yoga also, he says, use your mind and start the yoga. So, mind soul is the the Manomaya Purusha, and mind consciousness in man. So consciousness not as in the body, not as in the vital, but consciousness as it is in the mind. So that is what he's talking about, Manomaya Purusha. Can this consciousness in the mind has the capacity, can in the same direct way reflect and enter into Satchidananda by reflection of the soul as it mirrors itself in the nature of pure universal mind, luminous, unwalled, happy, plastic, illimitable. We'll go step by step. So the Manomaya Purusha in the mind, the consciousness in the mind, can experience the Satchidananda, but not directly. Okay, it can. If it becomes like a calm lake, there is a reflection of the sky in the lake. So the Satchidananda, which is the sky, gets reflected in the calm waters of the lake, which is the human mind. Okay, but the mind that has become calm and absolutely without any movement in the mind. The mind which becomes absolutely thoughtless, without any thought. And if there is thought, it can't reflect. Just like the waves in the lake also cannot reflect clearly the sky. It has to become absolutely calm. Then, and the water is clear, then there is a reflection. So by reflection, the Manomaya Purusha can experience the Satchidananda. That's what he's saying. Or also, he is also saying by reflection of the soul as it mirrors itself in the nature of pure universal mind. Your mind becomes universal. It's not located in the body, mind, life anymore. And it becomes full of light. Okay. And unwalled. Unwalled means absolutely infinite. There is no barrier to it. In the mind, it is very much walled. In the body, mind, life, it is walled. And it is happy. Okay. There is a certain calm happiness about it. Plastic. It's not rigid. Illimitable. Okay. Unwalled and illimitable. Then, or by absorption in the vast, free, unconditioned, uncentered self. Now, unconditioned, it is not conditioned by body, mind, life. There is nothing which is holding it back. Okay, but it's also uncentered. What does that mean? That means it is not located anywhere. It is there everywhere in space. We gave the example of the salt water. The salt is there everywhere. It is not located in any one grain of salt. So this is the uncentered self. It is everywhere, within it and without it. That's interesting. So it is uncentered even within the Manomaya Purusha, but even without it. That means in the universe. Okay. In the universe also it is there everywhere. And that is the reason why you can have a cosmic consciousness. And the cosmic consciousness, I repeat, you feel yourself to be one with every creature. If you remember the experience of the yogi who sees an animal being whipped, and the whip marks appear on his own body because he has identified himself subtly in the subtle world with everything around him. When that happens, you can know other people's thoughts, you can know other people's feelings, and even at the body level, the subtle level, you can identify yourself with others. Okay? This is how yogi helps the sadhaks. He identifies himself with the consciousness of the sadhak, sees his problems, and then solves them because he has the problem. He has the capacity to solve the problem. You can't do that, but the divine does that for you if you surrender to the divine. Okay, so sorry, the uncentered self is clear, and it can be within. That means located within itself, and also it can be without in the universe. The result is either the immobile cessation of all mind and action. That means your mind is absolutely without thought. And if it is without thought, it becomes immutable, okay? Immobile. There's no movement in the mind at all because there's no thought. And action, no action is there. Or a desire-free, unbound action watched by the unparticipating inner witness. So this is the example of the inner witness is the Sakshi, the Manomaya Purusha, which becomes absolutely immobile and becomes the self, or the Brahman consciousness, or the Atman. The Atman is the individual self, which has become absolutely, it's only watching. It has come out of the body, mind, life and is watching the body, mind, life. All the action that is taking place is below, but you yourself are desire free. There's nothing that you want, nothing that you need. Okay, it's a desire free, unbound action watched by the unparticipating. It is not participating in the body, mind, life. It is watching universal nature moving about the body, mind, life like a puppet. That's the experience of the witness self, Sakshi. Then the mental being becomes the eremite soul. So when that happens, the mental become eremite soul, the sannyasin who leaves the physical world. The eremite is one who leaves the world and goes away to the forest or the cave or to the mountains. In India, plenty of people do it. Okay? Alone in the world. He doesn't care for the world at all. He's there in the world, but alone and careless of all human ties. Or the eremite soul is looking for the knowledge in the pure mind. Or the saint soul. The saint soul is in the heart and he has devotion for the Lord. The eremite soul is towards knowledge. The saint soul is towards love and devotion of the divine, that lives in a rapturous God-nearness or felicitous identity and in joyful relations of pure love and ecstasy towards all creatures. Okay. This is very interesting. All creatures. The examples of, there is a famous example of Saint Francis, who could even tame wild animals with his attitude. Okay. There was a, this was in Italy in the 14th, 15th century. Saint Francis was the son of a very rich merchant. Okay. And he had the experience of the his turn towards Christianity, and he founded the Franciscan monks. Okay, and they depend entirely on the divine. So there was a wolf which was terrorizing the village, but he could even control the wolf. The wolf became his brother. Okay, he used to call everybody brother. Brother water, brother saint, brother air, brother sun. Everyone was brother to him. Saint Francis. So that is one. But we have got examples also of Raman Maharshi. Okay. He, at one time, a small bird fell down from the nest, and Raman Maharshi revived it, and it was put back into the nest. Then there is the story of the monkey. Okay. The monkey which was lame. Okay. And Raman Maharshi told that monkey that you will be the alpha male of the group of monkeys in Tiruvannamalai. Okay. And he was lame actually. He had an accident and he became lame, but he was the alpha male. He was a leader. And this Raman Maharshi tells it. It's very interesting. Raman Maharshi's attitude also towards Lakshmi, the cow, which had come to him as a small calf, and it grew up and it used to enter into the hall. Okay. And when people used to chase the cow out, because who wants a cow in a meditation hall? But he would allow the cow to come into him and pet it even. Okay, so that is a very interesting story. And I'm going a little out of the way just to explain what you mean by the saint soul. Okay, rapturous, divine. So when Lakshmi the cow died, okay, it's very interesting phenomenon, because I don't know if that is possible, but that's what he says. He sat with the cow and saw that the soul, which is not very developed in a cow, but it had a psychic element in it, element only, not the psychic, but the element in it. He gave it liberation. This is the story. In other words, the soul in that cow need not take birth again. Okay. I didn't know that this is possible with animals, but he did that. And he learned a few things about it, the mechanism of how to do that. And then he made a few errors. He doesn't specify what, but he used those errors to get more knowledge, and he did the same for his mother. When his mother came, during his lifetime, when his mother came, and she was sort of claiming, being the mother of a saint, and she was a little proud, and he is my son, that attitude. When that happened, he was absolutely cold and unemotional towards her. People used to say that he was a little cruel. Why is he not showing any love for his mother? But he did not approve of that pride in her. So he was very cold to her. But when she died, he gave her liberation. He sat with her and gave her liberation. So this is the rapturous God-nearness and felicitous identity in joyful relations of pure love and ecstasy towards all creatures. Note that. All animals even. Okay. That's what happens when you are the saint. Then the next sentence. The mental being may even realize the self in all the three planes together. The Annamaya Purusha, Pranamaya Purusha, and the Manomaya Purusha. It can experience the divine in matter, in the vital, in the prana, and also in the mind plane of consciousness. Then he is all these things alternately, successively, or at once. So all these are possible. He can identify himself in matter with the divine, or he can identify himself with matter in the energy the mechanical energy of the universe, or he can also experience only in the mental plane of consciousness, like the self. And he can do that one by one, or he can do all at once. If you do that all at once, you see the divine everywhere. Okay, in matter, in creatures, and in man. So very clear. Alternately, successively, or at once, all are possible. Or he may transform the lower forms into manifestations of a higher state. That's interesting. What he's saying, even the limitations of the physical can be transformed. Okay, or the limitations of the vital also can be transformed. He can the lower forms into manifestations of the higher state. He may draw upward the childlikeness or the inert irresponsibility of the free physical mind or the free vital mind, divine madness and carelessness of all rules, proprieties, harmonies and color, or disguise with them the ecstasy of the same or the solitary liberty of the wandering eremite. So he is saying, he is using the word childishness, inert responsibility, divine madness, and wandering eremite. These are, he has discussed earlier, and we have also discussed it earlier. When you are in a childlikeness, nature becomes childlike, you are what they call the balavat. Your consciousness is like a little child, innocent, without any motives, as pure as a child. But you behave like a child in the physical world. Or inert responsibility. I give you the example of that Pondu Swami. Okay, inert responsibility. No movement at all. You just exist. And others come and give you a bath, you have a bath. Others give you food, you eat. Otherwise, you don't. Someone gives you a bidi also, you will smoke. Okay, and someone wants to do whatever, they accept everything. Inert responsibility, mechanical. Okay, or it can be a divine madness. Okay, unmattavat, and inert responsibility, jadavat. Or you can be like a wandering eremite. That is what they call the pishachavat. Just wandering about like a madman. No motive in life at all. At a lower level, you seem to be either like a child or mad or wandering about purposely. But the consciousness is at a very high level. This can happen also. And it happens usually when the ego disappears. Because when you go, your soul goes out into the spiritual planes of consciousness, the ego has disappeared. But if the ego has disappeared, it has to be replaced by the true individuality, which is not located anywhere. It is, as he is saying, he has used the words, uncentered self. So when it is uncentered self, these phenomena can happen. Okay? Because there is no governance of the world. So this can happen. So ego is very necessary at our level to centralize and give you a purpose and a meaning to life. But if the ego disappears, okay, then you are like a wandering, like a leaf in the wind. But if you are in a higher consciousness, two things can happen. Either you are in control of yourself or you are not in control of yourself. So when you are not in control of yourself to a certain extent, balavat, unmattavat, okay, or jadavat, and also pishachavat. That's what Sandhu described. Here again, there is no mastery. There you are. You are not master. Okay, you are absolutely at the mercy of. You have given up all mastery. No sublimation of the nature by the soul in the world. Okay, but out there you are infinite and you are free. But a double possession by the freedom and delight of the mental, spiritual, infinite within and without, by the happy, natural, unregulated play of the mind nature. Note the word unregulated. There is no regulation. There is no control. Okay, completely the phenomena of this can happen. There is a footnote somewhere where he has, it's not here, but somewhere else there is, he mentions this 4 words. No? So this is what he's saying. Very clear description. You look at each word, you're happy. You are absolutely without any desire and completely without any want, absolutely happy condition. Natural and unregulated play of the mind nature. This can happen at the mind nature level of your Manomaya Purusha. But since the mental being is capable of receiving the gnosis is the highest, the third level, the supermind, in a way in which the life soul and physical soul cannot receive it. There you are very clear. The physical soul is the Annamaya Purusha and the life soul is the Pranamaya Purusha. The consciousness in the vital and the consciousness in the body cannot receive the supramental influence. But in the mind, it can receive to a certain extent. That it can receive, okay, to a certain extent. Since he can accept it with knowledge, though only the limited knowledge of a mental response, that's right, the supermind comes in, but it becomes limited in the mind. He may, to a certain extent, govern by its light his outer action, or if not that, at least bathe and purify in it his will and his thinkings. There are so many possibilities. Either there is no control, or there is control, and that also is a limited control, and you can purify yourself when the spiritual, the Gnostic consciousness, the supernatural consciousness enters into you. Okay. So, very clear description. But mind can arrive only at a compromise between the infinite within and the finite nature without. So the infinite within is your Sakshi, the Manomaya Purusha, which is located everywhere, the salt in the sea, okay? And the finite nature without. What does that mean? Without means in the physical world, outside. And what is that, the finite nature? Your body, your mind, and your life. Very, very clear. So your body, mind, life is, there's only a compromise, he said, can arrive only at a compromise between the infinite within and the finite nature without. What does it imply? It means that in the spiritual planes of consciousness, okay, you are free, you are enjoying peace and calm, but there is no control over the body, mind, life. At least not full control. Some control you can have because you can purify it. He's saying, at least bathe and purify in it his vital and his thinkings, but he cannot completely change his outer nature. It cannot hold the infinity of the inner being's knowledge and power and bliss with any sense of fullness into external action, which remains always inadequate. In other words, even if you are an avatar and you have experienced the supramental, the complete control of body, mind, life is not possible. To make that possible, your soul, your consciousness should not be located only in the Manomaya Purusha. It has to go to the Vijnanamaya Purusha. It has to go and live permanently in the supramental world. Then full control can come. This is what you say. Cannot pour the infinity of the inner being's knowledge and power and bliss with any sense of fullness. You can't. But to a great extent you can. Into its external action in the physical world, which remains always inadequate. Even the action of the avatar is not absolutely complete. It is inadequate. Complete transformation of body, mind, life, not possible. Still, it is content and free because it is a Lord. You are the Ishvara within. Within you are Ishvara, but not in the body, mind, life. Who takes up the responsibility of the action, adequate or inadequate, assumes its guidance and fixes its consequence. This whole paragraph is discussing the Manomaya Purusha, the spiritual planes of consciousness, where your mind can experience Satchidananda partly or even little bit by reflection or by entering into it. But the physical body, mind, life remains untransformed, even if it can be purified to a certain extent. So, lot of variation possible. Okay, so we have got 15 minutes, maybe a little more than 15 minutes. So we can read the next one. But the Gnostic soul Now he comes to the Gnostic soul. He has discussed the Annamaya Purusha. He has discussed the Pranamaya Purusha, Manomaya Purusha. Now he comes to the Vijnanamaya Purusha, the consciousness rising to the supramental plane. So, Yasmin, maybe you can read.
Yes, can I read it?
Please do that. But the Gnostic soul, the Vijnanamaya Purusha.
But the Gnostic soul, the Vijnana Maya Purusha, is the first to participate not only in the freedom, but in the power and sovereignty of the eternal. For it receives the fullness, it has the sense of plenitude of the Godhead in its action. It shares the free, splendid, and royal march of the infinite, is a vessel of the original knowledge, the immaculate power, the inviolable bliss, transmutes all life into the eternal light and the eternal fire and the eternal wine of the nectar. It possesses the infinite of the self and it possesses the infinite of nature. It does not so much lose as find its nature self in the self of the infinite. On the other planes to which the mental being has easier access, man finds God in himself and himself in God. He becomes divine in essence rather than in person or nature. In the gnosis, even the mentalized gnosis, the divine eternal possesses, changes and stamps the human symbol, envelops and partly finds himself in the person and nature. The mental being at most receives or reflects that which is true, divine and eternal. The Gnostic soul reaches a true identity, possesses the spirit and power of the truth nature. In the Gnosis, the dualism of Purusha and Prakriti, soul and nature, two separate powers complementary to each other, the great truth of the Sankhyas, founded on the practical truth of our present natural existence, disappears in their Bayun entity, the dynamic mystery of the occult supreme. The truth being is the Hara Gauri of the Indian iconological symbol. It is the double power, masculine, feminine, born from and supported by the supreme Shakti of the Supreme. The Bayun body of the Lord and his spouse, Ishvara and Shakti, the right half male and the left half female.
Yeah. Okay. So now he is describing what happens when you get to the supermind. Until now, nobody has been able to live permanently in the supermind. But certainly, you can have experiences even in the lower, either by reflection or even by entering into that consciousness. You can have the experience of the supermind, like they have done in the Vedic period, but nobody has been able to bring it down fully. Okay. Now, Mother and Siddhartha have been able to bring that consciousness down into matter, and the next phase of evolution has already started. Although we don't see it, but it's only a question of time. How long we don't know, but it's a question of time when the supramental race will appear. Already the beginnings are there. You can see extraordinary children being born with unbelievable capacities and all sorts of things. Even the confusion in the world is actually a sign of the supermind working in the physical world. Because whenever you change from one level to another level, the past is always trying to continue to exist. It is resisting the new change. This is something that happens always with human beings. Okay? And so the past is resisting. So that's why there is this confusion. So much of violence and so much of all sorts of disharmony. Okay? Even the war in the Ukraine. These are all signs of the change coming. So in the beginning, there's a lot of Samudra Manthan. All these things are coming out one by one. So there is a description of the supermind when it happens. And he is contrasting it with the mental Manomaya Purusha. He is making a difference between the experience of the Manomaya Purusha and the Vijnanamaya Purusha. The Manomaya Purusha is the consciousness in the mind, the spiritual planes of mind, and the Vijnanamaya Purusha is the consciousness when it rises or touches or even enters or experiences it below of the supermind in the mind. So we read each sentence. We have got about 10 minutes. We'll quickly go through. We can finish it today. But the Gnostic soul. So when he uses the word Gnostic, I remind you, he is meaning the supermind. So when we use the word Gnosis for the supermind. Now, note the word Gnostic, G-N. Okay? And in English, you have knowledge. So knowledge is also K-N and G-N. They are also very similar in the sound value. And even in our Sanskrit, Jnana, Jana, okay, which is again related to, so their origin is all the same. So Jnana, okay, with Jnanamaya Purusha. So when you use the word Gnostic soul, the soul that has been touched by the supermind, okay? And the supermind, I'm reminding you, is not the absolute highest knowledge, but it is a knowledge which is from the lower plane. It's the intermediate between spirit and matter, between the highest and the lowest. It is the bridge between the highest and the lowest. It is the supermind that creates the universe. Okay? It is that which creates the universe. Just like if you want the image, it can help. Okay, the supermind is a prism. Above it is a white light, only oneness. And when it hits this prism, it breaks up into 7 colors. The one becomes a many, and the many is the universe. Okay, so the supermind is a prism. And if the prism is not there, there can be no universe. The one can never become the universe. It can never become the many. But the supermind is that which creates. Okay, that is what you have to keep in mind. So supermind is an intermediate world. It's very high. It's not low. It's very, very high. But it is the intermediate world between the supermind, between the unmanifest supreme and the manifested world. So I'm going through each sentence. But the Gnostic soul, the Vijnanamaya Purusha, is the first to participate not only in the freedom, but in the power and sovereignty of the eternal. So when you are in the mind plane of consciousness, normally you have freedom, peace, sense of infinity, sense of complete unconditioned existence. Okay, you are absolutely free, but there may not be any power. You are very, very happy. You are free. You are roaming about in the unconditioned universe everywhere. But there may not be any power. There can be a little bit of ananda and power, but it is not complete. But in the Vijnanamaya Purusha, you have the power as well as the ananda. But in the power and sovereignty of the eternal. Sovereignty, mastery. You have also the mastery. In other words, you can control your body, mind, life also fully. For it receives the fullness, not the partial. He told you that in the spiritual planes, you can receive the partial influence of the supermind. But here in the Vijnanamaya Purusha, you get the fullness. It has the sense of plenitude of God in its action. Okay? Sense of plenitude. Plenitude, fullness. The word plein in French. Plenitude, complete fullness of the Godhead in its action. You feel that it is God, you can have godlike action. It shares the free, splendid, and royal march of the infinite. Okay, you have a tremendous amount of power and you can do all sorts of things. You can cure people, you can do all sorts of what appears to be miraculous. But for the divine, it's not miraculous at all. They are laws of that particular world. Okay? That's all. It shares the free, splendid, and royal march of the infinite. Not the word royal march. You are a king. Okay. Is a vessel of the original knowledge and immaculate power. Original knowledge, not mental knowledge, not knowledge of the animal or man, not even of the yogi, but the highest level, Satchidananda, original knowledge. Okay, the origin is Satchidananda for everything. The immaculate power, He is using the word immaculate. Okay? Because in the physical world, we have power, but it is very often used in the wrong way, impure power. But there it is pure power. Okay? No wrong use at all. Immaculate power. The inviolable bliss. That bliss which cannot be at our level, pleasure and pain go together. But there in the supermind, inviolable. Only bliss is there. No pleasure, no suffering at all. Transmutes all life into the eternal light, the eternal fire, and the eternal wine of the nectar. Now look at that. Eternal light, knowledge. Eternal fire, power. Eternal wine, Ananda. Okay? He is again referring to Satchidananda. You have experienced Satchidananda in the supermind. Eternal light, knowledge, Chit. Eternal fire, Shakti. Okay? And eternal wine, the Ananda. The wine is very often used for the Ananda, because when the Ananda is experienced, you feel it like a flow in your blood. Okay? Of a when you drink wine, there is an effect in the physical body. So that is often compared to, and wine with a W cap. So you experience knowledge, power, and Ananda. It possesses, what is the it? Gnostic consciousness. It possesses the infinite of the self, and it possesses the infinite of nature. The infinite of self is your soul, and the infinity of nature, the body, mind, life, or in the lower plane, the first plane of the matter, life, and mind, universal matter, universal life, universal mind plane of consciousness. It does not so much lose as find its nature self in the self of the infinite. So what does it mean? Because if you lose yourself, it's like the Buddhistic Vijnana. There is no even person experiencing. You become the infinite. But it is possible also to be an individual and experience the infinite. Okay, that's what Sandhya is saying here. It does not so much lose as find its nature self in the self of the infinite. The individuality does not disappear. If it disappears, you lose yourself in the infinite. But if you are not, you are an individual experiencing the infinite. On the other planes to which the mental being has easier access, man finds God in himself and himself in God. So, finding God in yourself is the path of devotion and bhakti. You find the divine within yourself. Okay? Or you find yourself in God, there is the path of knowledge. You become one with the divine in essence. There is a difference between finding God within yourself and finding yourself in God. Knowledge and love. He becomes divine in essence rather than in person or nature. So you become divine in essence. You enter into that's why the Advaita philosophy says that there is no essential difference between the human soul and the divine soul. In essence, they are all the same. In the gnosis, even the mentalized gnosis, the divine eternal, possesses, changes, and stamps the human symbol, envelops and partly finds himself in the person and the nature. So even in your body-mind life, okay, the divine stamps itself, not fully enters into, but it influences your body-mind life, stamps the human symbol. Which is the human symbol? Your body-mind life. Okay. The mental being at most receives or reflects that which is true, possesses the spirit and power of the truth nature. But in the gnosis, there is a difference between the two. In the gnosis, the dualism of Purusha and Prakriti, soul and nature, the two separate powers complementary to each other. Not the word complementary, huh? Complementary. P-L-E, not P-L-I. Okay. So complementary means which complement each other, which support each other. Chit Shakti at the lower level consciousness and force become separate. But at the highest level, they become one, which support each other. Okay? The Gnostic soul reaches the true identity. In the gnosis, the dualism of Purusha and Prakriti, consciousness and force, okay? Soul and nature, two separate powers complementary to each other. The great truth of the Sankhyas found on the practical truth of our present natural existence. Present natural existence, body-mind life. We are identified body-mind. Disappears in their biune entity. The biune is twofold, but two not separate, but which is one. Triune means there are three, but they are essentially one, not separate. Okay. So triune means Satchidananda, and the biune is Purusha Prakriti, which have become one. Okay? Biune, not twofold. Twofold is different from biune. All right. The truth being is the Hara Gauri. Hara Shiva, Gauri Parvati. Okay. And this is the, in the iconoclasm, he is saying, all our Indian temples very often they have half man, half woman. Okay. Ardhanarishwara, the image. That is the symbol of the supermind, where soul and nature, Shiva and Shakti, Parvati, Shiva and Parvati become one. Hara, Gauri. Hari is Vishnu and Hara is Shiva. Okay. Of the Indian iconological symbol. Icons, statues. Representations in statue, in stone or metal. It is the double power, masculine, feminine, born from and supported by the supreme Shakti of the Supreme. So this is the experience of the supermind. Even if you get a touch of it, the knowledge and all these things become true to you. So we have come to the end of 2 paras. Not bad. We have been able to do 2 paras of those texts. So quite good, not bad. Therefore, the truth soul, next time we'll do that. So you can stop recording now and you can cut the link. So, and I wish everybody a nice day, have a nice day, and be happy and joyful. Let there not be any Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Okay.